Rod Class and the Truth About Exposure. February 26, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. This covers two very different topics. One is a quick referral to all the doubters out there about the potentially serious consequences of constant exposure to radiation. The other is a quick commentary on the Rod Class case. I like actual factual science, and so I am always cruising around looking for it, and amid all the for-pay garbage, it is still quite easy to find on YouTube. Dr. Devra Davis does a bang-em-up job with her presentation made 4 years ago at the University of Melbourne in Australia, and nothing has changed in 4 years, except to get worse and more worrisome with the proliferation of 5G. Spend an hour and have all the information you need to shove under the noses of those who think that you are being a Luddite for viewing radiation as a potential threat to human health. https://tinyurl.com/m-radiation-it. The Truth About Mobile Phone and Wireless Radiation, Dr. Devra Davis. And now on to Rod Class. Brief background. Rod went to Washington, D.C., with a couple of his duly registered guns in a lockbox in his registered motor vehicle, and he was arrested in Washington, D.C., for violating their municipal code, which forbids bringing firearms into the Capitol, which is an independent international city-state, authorized under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. This clause of the Constitution of the United States, that is, the Municipal Constitution, tells us very clearly that this separate and foreign government is a plenary oligarchy run by the members of Congress. Period. So, he basically identified himself as a territorial U.S. citizen via all his registrations, which converted his guns into firearms and his private car into a motor vehicle belonging to the territorial United States government, and then he entered the foreign municipality, which has been at war with the territorial government since 1861, and he was amazed when he was arrested under municipal law for disturbing the peace. How many of you have seen the Clint Eastwood film, Unforgiven? Remember when the town passed the ordinance against bringing guns into town and the sheriff was responsible for collecting and keeping everyone's guns while they were in town? This is an apt demonstration of local law versus constitutional guarantees. The two things really don't have anything to do with each other if you are talking about independent sovereignty. That little town had the sovereign right of self-government and self-determination, so if the people didn't want to put up with gunfighters whooping it up on Main Street, they had every right to require visitors to deposit their guns with the sheriff or at some drop-off point outside the city limits. If you don't want to abide by the rule, mister, keep riding. The only responsibility the town had was to clearly post the requirement, which in the movie, they did by posting a big sign on the only road into and out of town. I don't know what Washington, D.C., has done to provide public notice of its restrictions on guns, or whether Rod had prior knowledge of those restrictions. What I do know is that Washington, D.C., is an independent, international city-state, and the municipal Congress has plenary authority to establish whatever laws they want to establish for the municipality of Washington, D.C. If they want to outlaw bubble gum, they can. What I also know is that the municipal government has been at mostly tongue-in-cheek war with the territorial United States government since the 1860s, when the territorial government adopted the infamous 14th Amendment, or should I say, more properly, 14th by law, and declared all municipal citizens of the United States to be criminals, and therefore, slaves, and began waging a campaign to collect war reparations from the municipal citizenry. Now you can see why the municipal police would be up in arms about a territorial U.S. citizen coming into Washington, D.C., with firearms registered as part of the arsenal of the territorial government. Heck, he might be there to take revenge for Bull Run. Ridiculous as this is the imaginary situation these folks are playing with, and here's Rod Class, Joe American, without a clue that this is going on, relying on his constitutional guarantees, totally unaware that he is entering foreign territory, unaware of the municipal law, unaware that he is himself not being recognized as an American state citizen thanks to all the territorial registrations attached to him, unaware that U.S. citizens are the enemy in a long-vanished war, unaware that his guns are classed as firearms and that he is engaged in transporting them across state lines, a city-state as a form of state, unaware that so far as the municipal police are concerned, he is a dangerous hombre and probably intent on shooting up Main Street. So, then, Rod, still clueless as to what he is messing with, spends what? 5 years messing around with the municipal courts arguing about his constitutional rights, which so far as they are concerned, don't exist because he appears to be registered as a U.S. citizen, and his car is registered and his guns are registered, too, and trying his best to get down to brass tacks and find out what kind of court this is. And under what law it operates? He and over 2,000 court observers discover that the municipal court is prosecuting him as an enemy at war, under Title 53(23), and are determinedly throwing the book at him. Well, why not? Have I not told everyone within earshot of a foghorn and the FM grid that the only part of federal code ever adopted by the municipal government was Title 50? Have I not told everyone that the exemption for American state nationals and American state citizens is at Section 7 C and E of the 2012 iteration of 50 U.S.C.? And have I not told everyone that you have to declare and record your political status as an American state national, state citizen, otherwise, you are being misidentified as a U.S. citizen by the municipal government or as a municipal citizen of the United States by the territorial government? See how they set this cozy little war between themselves up, so that they could both prey upon us? Anyway, so Rod and his court observers finally delve down to discover these facts and see for themselves that he is being ruthlessly prosecuted under the common law of war, which is basically no law at all, when in fact, as an American state national, he should be afforded the law of peace. The problem is that he has not identified himself as an American and he has no admissible evidence established on the public record of his political status as an American, and he has not claimed the law of peace and he has not claimed his exemption, so of course, they are proceeding against him as the dirty, lily-livered Yankee sneak they presume he is. Intent on entering the municipality and single-handedly ransacking it with a deer rifle. It's easy for me to laugh, the whole prospect is so preposterous, but, nonetheless, that's what they are doing, and, moreover, that is what they have published that they are doing. Rod and company have gone so far as to deduce that they are being prosecuted under the Trading with the Enemy Act as amended by the Emergency Banking Acts of 1933-34. And they have loudly proclaimed that we are being attacked as the enemy under the War Powers Act, without taking into account who we are. Or who they are being mistaken for, either. American state nationals and American state citizens are exempt from all this grim silliness, but until you declare your political status as an American, you are presumed to be some species of federal U.S. citizen, still fighting the Civil War. What adds an extra cherry on the top effect of all this, is that this war between territorial United States citizens and municipal citizens of the United States is completely cynical and actually one-sided. The territorial United States is ruled by Queen, acting as the overseer of the Commonwealth for the Pope, so the Pope, through the Queen, owns and operates the territorial United States indirectly. And the Pope also charters the municipal United States directly, so he owns and operates that, too. So we have the spectacle of both sides being played against the unsuspecting middle, that's us, the clueless third parties, by two sides that are both actually owned and operated by the Pope. The territorial government purposefully misidentifies us and attacks us as municipal citizens. And the municipal government purposefully misidentifies us and attacks us as territorial citizens. And they make out like bandits, literal bandits, promoting this fraud, simply because great men like Rod Class can't imagine that their history teachers left out mission-critical, need-to-know information. So the vermin threw their books at Rod Class, and he is looking at 10 years and $250,000 fine, plus all the court costs. The information he has brought forward and proven has been purchased at an unimaginably dear price, and could have been had for the cost of reading my blog articles. Now his worried friends are facing the prospect of a Supreme Court challenge, which will be useless and unlikely to be heard. After all, the municipal government is a plenary oligarchy under the constitutions, no matter which constitution you read. And I am his friend, and I am worried, too, that he will spend more of his life and his money and everything else, fighting this out to the bitter end, and it will be bitter, if he keeps going at it as he is. So, if I were Rod Class, here is what I would do. I would investigate, in depth, the ways and means that the municipality has used or failed to use to publicize its no-guns policy. Mostly likely, they have not done a good job of that, and Rod would have basis to claim that he simply wasn't told that it was against the rules to bring a gun into Washington, D.C. Then, I would go to my state of state congressional delegation and lay out the facts, including the fact that I didn't actually cause any harm or brandish any firearms, and ask for congressional clemency and forgiveness for my unintentional and uninformed lapse. They have the ability, as oligarchs, to call up the judge in the case and say, "Hey, Jimmy, one of my rubes, a guy named Rod Class, came in from the hinterlands and got arrested for having a deer rifle in a lockbox in the back of his truck. Slap his hands and let him go with a warning, and oh, a $300 fine. That will be good enough." And that's what will happen, because as oligarchs, they have the power to do that within the municipality of Washington, D.C. No questions asked. But beyond this bunch of flying factoids, don't forget. It's the Pope and the Queen pulling the strings of this Punch and Judy show, and though the members of the Territorial Congress may play Punch and the members of the Municipal Congress may play Judy, they are all just puppets in the hands of the Pope, who at the end of the day is the person on earth responsible for all this crime and misadministration. The Pope could turn to the Queen and say, "Hey, Lizzie, let's give it up and make amends. Stop the phony war against the Americans. Let them issue some kind of peace treaty ending the civil war over there and play it straight from now on." And the Queen would agree, because, after all, when it comes to administration of Commonwealth properties, she takes her orders from the Pope. These facts and many more need to be brought to the Pope's attention and to the attention of the members of the United Nations organizations and to the people of the earth, so they get the message along with all the still half asleep and clueless Americans. Good people. Brave people. Stubborn people like Rod Class. The American people don't deserve to be abused in any way, by any pope or any British queen. They both already owe us debts that can never be repaid, but as they stand accused before the entire world for this pitiless and ridiculous racketeering, they can pull in their horns and start trying. Please consider making a small donation to help support Anna and the Living Law Firm, by visiting theamericanstatesassembly.net, scroll to the bottom and click on the Donate Now button. Thank you.